day, everyone. My name is Andrew, a personal trainer, and I'm one of the coaches here at Vitality. Thank you so much for tuning in today for another episode of Pride in Sports. In each episode, we discuss and celebrate our athletes' stories and successes, and our goal is to eliminate stigma in sports, promote and encourage other LGBTQ people not to feel intimidated and play the sports they love or wish to take part in. Today, I'm joined by a person who has recently come out publicly as gay, and his story has gone viral in the cycling world. Reason being, he's the first athlete cyclist to do this. So please, I'm really excited to have him on board. So please welcome Clay Davies.
Hi there, how you doing?
How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, it's good, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this today. I just really wanted to highlight everything about your story. So before we dive into that, tell us a little bit more about your cycling world. So what team you play for or cycle with, sorry.
Yeah, so I race at a what's known as sort of a domestic elite level. So I'm an amateur. I've got a full-time job. So I'm sitting at my work from home desk at the moment. I work full-time as a surveyor, but I'm sort of about the highest level you can get as a domestic cyclist, an amateur cyclist, and I race the top level races in the country that you can do.
But so the team that you ride for, what they called is it Spirit?
Yeah, Spirit Bontrager we're called, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. How long have you been cycling with them then? Is it taking like quite a while to get where you are now?
Yeah, so I've been cycling on the road for about 4 or 5 years, and only about three or four of those have been fairly serious, and it's been sort of incremental steps upwards in terms of getting better. Okay. And the team owner of Spirit, the team I'm on now, approached me late last year to say, "Why do you want to join us? You're obviously fairly good." And here I am.
Brilliant.
And it was only then he found out I was gay.
Okay, right. Okay, I was just going to say, first of all, is that the bikes in the background there?
It's been an interesting few weeks, Andrew. To be honest, the one you can see in the background that's a bit orange. I wrote that bike off 2 weeks ago in a crash, so I've got a bit of scratches there, and had concussion. I split my helmet right down the middle because I hit the ground so hard. So then last week I had to do an emergency insurance claim and bought the blue one you can see in the background. So
that's the blue one.
Yeah, it's not a cheap sport.
Brilliant. So I'm taking you did wear a crash helmet when you.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the second time my crash helmet is pot. The first time it saved my life, I'm sure of it, and this time it has saved me from serious head injury, I think. So wear a helmet, everyone.
Yeah. How fast are you going then? Because these aren't road bikes, are they? Is it more mountain bikes?
No, this is road bikes. The tires aren't that wide, literally that wide. And you're going down a hill at 50, 60 mile an hour occasionally.
Okay.
So it doesn't take much for it all to go a bit wrong. So, it does take a unique character, I think is the best way of putting it, to be a racing cyclist, because it bloody hurts occasionally.
I just want to, one of the things, how this all come about, you recently done an interview with British Continental, and for anyone that's watching or that hasn't read one there, I'm just going to read out something that was quite powerful, a statement that really hit home. So, so what they wrote in the statement was, there are 415 male riders with an elite or first category license in the UK. If these riders were representative of the wider male population of the UK, you would expect between 14 and 29 of them to be gay, and you're the only one.
Yeah.
So that is obviously an eye-opener and clearly an issue. So let's go back to when just now you said, did you say that you were out to your friends, but not as the team?
Yeah, so I've been out to my friends and family for, I don't know, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
I was probably about 21, 22, that sort of age, when I started telling, friends first, then sort of parents just found out naturally. I didn't sort of have a big coming out party or bake a rainbow cake or anything. But people in the cycling world were aware. People found out, over time gradually. But I think that was more in the sort of social cycling world, Whereas in the racing cycling world, as I see it, very, very few people were aware, I think.
Okay.
You know, I thought, well, I need to set an example, really.
Well, did you feel, I mean, going into it, I mean, did you find that you had to have like an alter ego, or did you try and change who you were when you to fit in with that crowd?
Yeah, I think, you know, I probably did, to be honest.
Yeah.
I say probably because it's sort of quite a long time in the past now. But yeah, you know, I almost certainly changed how I behaved.
Yeah.
To sort of fit in. And it, you know, it's much like when you're not out and there's that, you know, the constant questionings of what's the name of your girlfriend and all the rest of it. You're constantly thinking, oh crap, what am I going to say next? I'm going to, you know, change he to them every time you mention sort of gender. Every time you know, it's just a constantly on your guard, aren't you?
Yeah, and for me as well, I'm going back some years ago, and when I guess it wasn't really on TV very much. I'm not older. I'm 40. So how old are you?
29.
So yeah, I'm a lot older. Okay, so when I was younger, we had no representation on TV, and I found myself in that situation when it wasn't in sports; it was just in general, where I wasn't really comfortable admitting. So as soon as they said, "Have you got a girlfriend?" I was like, "Oh no, I haven't." It's the first thing that came into my head. I was like, "Why did I not just say I don't have a boyfriend or something like that?"
Yeah.
And these, again, it's small story turned into a big lie, and it got out of control, and it just made things worse. So eventually, I was like, "I'm making this more of an issue to correct myself." So I found myself creating, again, just to try and fit in, creating a different person. Even at the gym, sometimes at the gym, I feel a little bit intimidated, or I feel like I can't quite say I have a boyfriend, not a girlfriend, or correct them. So I'm glad it is going in a direction where people are asking, like, do you have a partner? It's very open now. It's easier to answer yes or no. So
And I suppose when you've told someone for so long, you know, you get to know someone and they probably just assume you're straight. Then all of a sudden, if you do tell them 6 months after you've met them down the gym, you've become sort of training buddies.
Yeah.
You sort of get yourself in a bit of a hole, as you say. Like,
yeah.
Kind
of made it worse for yourself.
Yeah.
So since the interview with the British Continental, have you had any positive outcomes, or anyone approach you at all since coming out?
I mean, so on the British Continental website, which everyone, if you're interested in cycling, or if you're not interested in cycling, you should just Google, you find it. There was a very shortly after my interview went live, a follow-up went live from an anonymous junior rider, which means they're effectively under 19 in the cycling world, who's gay but not willing to tell anyone in the cycling world because of the cycling culture. So I'm now actually in touch with that rider directly, who still wishes to remain, completely anonymous, and offering advice and support, some of which he's heeded, and says has been very helpful. So I suppose that's a positive outcome. I've had a number of other cyclists and non-cyclists come out to me. Some of them are a bit older, in their 30s, late 20s, and I've had some in their sort of mid-teens, all offering advice, saying what I've done has sort of encouraged them. I've got one particular boy, he's not 18 yet, who comes from an Asian family, and he's saying, if his parents found out he was gay, he'd be thrown out of the house there and then. So, he's been asking me for advice in terms of how he lives his life until he's effectively independent, which is the age he is going to be a number of years. And I, trying to help as best I can. Although, I can sort of empathise to some degree of that scenario. I can't, it's not something I've been anywhere near close to in terms of my family. So, it's that there has been a huge amount of positivity that's come out of it, with some sadness as well, as I say.
With doing things like this, I think this is the main goal, that because there is no representation in the sporting world, there is now, and I'll talk about Tom Daley in a second, but growing up for me, there was no representation. There was no one that I could idolize or relate to. So with us doing this interview, with you doing British Continental interviews, and just being out there, you are actually being that role model. So if there is a cyclist, or you don't have to be a cyclist, you could be anyone. You can be anyone. They're going to see you doing a sport that you love, being a representative and someone that they can relate to. And if you have, I mean, your socials is very open. I approached you very quite easily. And yeah, so if other people are approaching you and you're helping them, then that's a success.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're doing here. This is why. And who knows, it would be lovely in 10 years' time that we wouldn't have to do this. So they wouldn't, because
that's what I said on the British Continental interview. So that, my honest hope is in. I think one of my parting comments was saying, if effectively, people read this in 20 years' time and think, well, what was that all about? What was that fuss all about?
Yeah.
Looking for a bit of publicity, wasn't he? Which I'm really not. Yeah. That is my hope, is that people look back and think, Christ, that's not aged well.
Yeah,
it's not a thing anymore.
But even in my generation, I'm not going to go completely off topic here. I remember Will Young winning Pop Idol. It was about 2002.
I just about remember that. Not to make you feel old there, but I just about remember.
But I also remember pretty much a week after that he was after winning it, it was like in the newspaper, front screen, I'm gay. Oh my God, it's like a huge thing. And then even when going before that, Stephen Gately in Boyzone, he was outed and shamed. I mean, like, you wouldn't do that now. I mean, things are changing, which is fantastic. But again, we'll look back at this in 10 years' time, look back thinking this is dated. And why did we do this? But at this point, we kind of have to do this just to...
I mean, you still get it to some degree, don't you? If a celebrity comes out, you might get a minor news outlet. Maybe one of the sort of the gay news websites make you a little article on it. But I think that's more from the positive angle rather than the shock and horror that some of the tabloids were putting out, as you say, 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly. I mean, talking of representation, then I didn't have any. Did you have, growing up? Did you have anyone that you idolized or?
No, not really.
No, because there was no.
I went to a fairly small private school, for full disclosure, and there was, I think, it wasn't illegal at that point, but it certainly wasn't encouraged to teaching kids about gay people, gay things, the existence of gay people. So I had no sort of role models in school whatsoever, and then in media, news, film, and all the rest of it, there wasn't a huge amount either, to be honest.
No, I didn't. Like I say, I wouldn't say it's easier now. Well, it could be easy. I mean, I don't want to offend anyone. It's different. It's different for different situations for different people, but it's more on TV now.
Yeah.
I didn't have that at all, so it was such a big issue trying to admit it to myself and trying to figure it out myself as well. That was the hard part. But at least we've got people that are, like say, on TV that are encouraging other young people.
The only moment I remember from when watching TV, I used to be a big fan of Ugly Betty. I've no idea why. I just thought it was. I don't really like American. I don't really like American programs at all. I've never watched Friends or anything like that, but I really liked Ugly Betty from start to finish. And it was always on Channel 4 about 10 o'clock on a Friday night. And there was one of the last episodes. It had about 4 or 5 seasons. Was when Justin, so that was Betty's nephew, and his boyfriend kissed publicly at their school prom or something like that.
Okay.
And this was effective. I think the actors were playing people it would have been sort of 15, 16, 17 age. This was in the late noughties, I think. So it was 2009, something like that. I would have thought.
Okay.
A bit earlier, and I remember that being quite shocking, in a sort of positive way for me. But I think that got quite a lot of press on the. Two underage teenage boys kissing on TV and all the rest of it.
And that's just over 10 years ago.
Yeah, it would have been late noughties, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back because I am so good at going off on a tangent, so I'm really sorry that I let that one on. Going back to when you did the interview with British Continental on that, has there been any disappointment, any negative things about the story that you've done?
I've had hundreds of messages of positivity, and I mean I genuinely mean hundreds, on various, Instagram, Twitter, text, Facebook,
Brilliant.
and a few emails, all that sort of thing. I've had 2 negative comments.
Wow,
one of them is from I've mentioned this before, but I've got to be careful how I say it because it's quite easy to identify otherwise. Elite cyclist in a discipline that I'm not in.
Okay.
That's probably not very helpful, but that's the idea. And then I've had another sort of quasi-negative comment from a cycling team manager of a team that's sort of equivalent to mine.
Now okay, so that's interesting, because if it's manager, this is part of where things
and owner as well of the team, to be honest. Yeah.
So how do you think we could change things? How do you think that, because if you've got the manager of a club that's quite negative or quite homophobic or anything like that, how are we going to change? How are people going to change their perception or the way to allow to not have homophobia in sports? Or, I mean, why was he so negative?
Effectively, they both said similar things, actually. They both said along the lines of, I don't get this fashion of why people have to come out all the time in sport. Sexuality doesn't matter. You play football and cycling and all the rest of it. And it, the fact that you go out with men is irrelevant. But what I think they're missing is the fact that it's quite hard to hide that, and as they're missing the empathy point of being in that situation. Everyone always, the culture of this country assuming that you're always straight.
Yeah.
Apart from what you said recently about people saying partner rather than girlfriend, boyfriend, but it still exists that the assumption is in this country that you are straight and you've got a girlfriend.
It is quite an alpha masculine dominated.
Yeah, and I think these people and the sort of team manager and this pretty good cyclist, very good cyclist actually, has, they don't understand what it's like to be in the closet. They don't understand the pressure of not being out. They don't understand how that affects your life, how exhausting it is, how it can make you ill, gives you mental health problems, some, I guess, physical health problems as well.
And it's listening to the banter as well. And when I said earlier on about creating an alter ego, in the past, when I haven't been honest with people about my sexuality and just listening to the constant slating and the banter, I'm like, I will never come out to you because I know your true colours. I know exactly what your thoughts are.
I mean, it doesn't seem to happen actually as much of the past year or so. Probably because I haven't seen anyone for about 18 months because of the lockdowns. But it seems to be getting less that the word gay is used as a derogatory term.
Yeah.
That bike's a bit gay, isn't it? Type thing. You did used to hear that quite a lot a few years ago.
Yeah. It went on for a long time. I remember that one. Yeah. So
I don't know if you found the same, but that seems to be getting a bit better. Yeah,
it's still annoying to hear because it's obviously it's implying that it's derogatory and But I'm going to quickly. I did mention Tom Daley just now because this year at the Tokyo Olympics we saw at least 182 out LGBTQ athletes, which is more than triple what they did in Rio. At the moment, Tom Daley stands as the only out gay male Olympic champion, which is amazing. And I know watching him growing up, I'm a big Olympics fan. I absolutely love the Olympics. And I remember his first one and watching him grow up and things like that. I can imagine would be, and especially the speech that he'd done when he was in front of the press, but he made a point of saying, I am a proud gay man and I am an Olympic champion, because there's so many countries that compete in the Olympics that you would be killed for being gay. You would be punished. You would be and I think there was an issue with another country. I'm not going to name the country this year about sexuality as well. So what he's doing there is amazing. And going back to when that team manager said, why are we doing this? It needs to be said, it needs to be done, because there is no other representatives out there that's LGBTQ. Or how are we going to encourage people to do more sports and just play the sport rather than just feel fear all the time? For me, I've just recently joined a rugby team. I've always wanted to be part of a sports team. Never had the confidence because I wanted to play the game and not feel fear about if they found out about my sexuality.
Yeah.
So now that I'm in an IGR team, so that's all inclusive. So we've got straight and gay people. It doesn't matter about my sexuality. I can concentrate on playing the game, knowing that it's the game I'm there for. That's what I can concentrate on without any worry or fear. And I think that, like, say, if we have more people like yourself, Tom Daley, to say, look, it is okay, it isn't an issue, and just try and get more representation out there and get more LGBTQ people active and lead the way, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my little rant over. What's next for you, Clay? What is on the agenda? What is the future like for you at the moment?
In terms of the cycling season, because of COVID and all the rest of it, it's been pushed back quite a lot. So normally by now I've had enough. Early September, previous 3 or 4 years is normally sort of when the season starts to draw to a close. There are still races, but there's nothing significant.
Yeah.
So previously by about now I'd be down the pub, but the season this year has been pushed back quite a lot, and my last big race of the year is now the second week of October.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
So it's one of those times of year where you never quite know what conditions you can be racing. It could be 10 degrees and raining, or it could be 30 degrees and sunny, like today. It's hot. So that's where I am on the cycling side of things, and then as I say, still working from home at the moment, but looking like we'll be going back into the office in the day job as well.
Fantastic. And I'm going to pick up on something you said just now about, and I've also read this. You had a bit of a U-turn. Did you have an accident or something on your bike?
Well, I fall off my bike quite a lot, as you probably as we gathered. But my coming out moment was effectively 6 or 7 years ago. As I say, I was on a training ride in my local town in St Albans, and I was cycling along, and all of a sudden a car just pulled straight across in front of me, and I broadsided it at about 25 mile an hour. Somehow my head ended up under the rear wheel of this car as it was still driving forward, squashed my head, all the rest of it. So that's why I say that if I wasn't wearing a helmet at that time, I'm not sure I'd be with us, to be honest. Broke both my arms, severe concussion. I was basically incapacitated for about a week because I couldn't really do anything. I had to borrow my uncle's button-up shirts because I couldn't put a t-shirt on because both my arms were incapacitated. So I sort of looked like a lumberjack for a week. Not my look. But that was my moment of just going, oh, sod it. I don't care about who knows, not being in the closet anymore.
Okay.
I'm pretty convinced I nearly died. So pretty seriously injured. And I just, effectively started telling people after that. So the first person I told was the owner of a local bike shop. So I was off work because I was, not much good to anyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
So once I was sort of vaguely safe to leave the house, I got an Uber to my friend's bike shop, spent the afternoon up there just talking about bike stuff and drinking coffee. He gave me a lift home. And just as he dropped me off outside my house, I can't really remember what I said because I had concussion, but effectively I told him there and then, and you say that was the first person I told, and then it sort of escalated, if that's the right word, from there.
So did you find it easy to tell a stranger then?
Well, he's not. No, I know he's a very good friend of mine.
Oh, so, yes, sorry, yes, of course you did say.
So the owner of the bike shop was a very good friend of mine. So he's sort of the first person I told, and then I started telling other people from there. As I say, I was so severely concussed, I don't really remember what I said and to who and in what order. But Yeah, not ideal circumstances, but
life's too short. Life is too short.
Well, I was in the closet for 10 years.
Wow. Okay. And were you happy?
Well, no, I wasn't on reflection, no. But I didn't know why.
Yeah. Wow. Blimey. Okay. What we'll do is I just want to ask one more question. If you actually, normally we do this sort of thing around about Pride, but I wanted to do this series throughout the whole year because, like I said, we're not gay for 1 month of the year. This is our lifestyle. So one big question I'm going to ask everyone that does this episode: what does Pride mean to you, or Pride being proud in your sport? What does it mean to you?
Oh, I'm trying to think there. Well, look, I think, I think being proud in your sport is not necessarily, believe it or not, what I've done and putting things all over Instagram and winding up the governing body of your sport every 5 minutes to say being more inclusive. But I think being proud or having pride in your sport is being comfortable who you are.
Mm.
And if you are happy to tell people fairly early on when you meet them, or make them aware that you aren't straight.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go back to how can people reach you on social? So if people are watching this now and wanted to reach out to you and just ask questions or just a bit of advice, how can people get hold of you?
Yes, and my name's quite rare. There's not many people called Clay Davies on the internet, apart from the guy from The Wire. Was it The Wire? I never watched it. It's an American program, so we know I don't watch it.
Yeah, I did. Yes, there is someone in American that's come up. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Yeah.
So I'm not him, funnily enough. But yeah, best to get me on Instagram if you want to send me a message. Yeah, so Instagram, it's at ClayDDD.
Triple D. Fantastic. Excellent. Okay, well, that is our time. That is half an hour. So I just want to say a big thank you to yourself, Clay, and anyone that's watching. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in today for our event. We'll have more coming up soon, so we're going to continue this throughout the whole year. So keep an eye on our socials. If you are a Vitality member, make sure you head over to our exclusive Facebook member page, and you'll be able to see more videos like this and some other workouts that we do. If you're not a Vitality member, you can head over to vitality.co.uk to find out more information about the benefits we offer. Clay, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been great.
I find your story really interesting, and if anyone wants to reach out, either to myself or Clay, and we'll get in contact with each other or pass each other on. So once again, thank you everyone that's joined in, and Clay, all the best for the future and good luck with your racing.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.